I love myself a good old country buffet. Every time we go to Ryan's, I come out as happy as I've ever been. Why do I love buffets? Because I'm the kind of guy that likes things my way. Not too much sweet potato, but a lot of mashed potatoes and green beans. What does this have to do with our question? Well, each country around the world exists for their own goals, some for the happiness of their citizens, some for global peace. And it's quite impossible for a single organization to put those goals together in perfect harmony. It's better to let each nation mix and match what is best for themselves. So, the question brought before us today is, do supranational organizations do more harm than good for their member states? And I believe the clear answer is yes. First of all, countries are not equal. Second, supranational organizations don't promote democracy. And third, educational side effects exceed the benefits in developing nations. So, the first reason why supranational organizations do more harm than good for their member nations is that countries are not equal. They just can't be. Therefore, supranational organizations don't encourage world peace, they actually increase inequality. According to Juntik Lee in the Northwestern Journal of Human Rights of 2020, in any society, hierarchies are set up based on dominating values. And similarly, supranational organizations like the EU set up hierarchies and then impose them to limit each state's sovereignty. It discourages individuality and forces nations to compromise when they would not otherwise need to. According to Tillman in St. John's University in 2015, supranational institutions do not affect global stability. Instead, they are simply a reflection on the balance of world power. In fact, Tillman goes on to say that most weak states reap economic benefits from strong states, continuing to increase the gap. According to BBC on September the 23rd, despite the huge risks that Brexit had for the UK economy, they still chose to exit promptly because they knew that they were helping other nations more than they were benefiting themselves. Pouring money into weaker economies like Poland or Estonia is not optimal for the UK economy. The second reason why supranational organizations harm their member nations more than they benefit them is because supranational organizations don't promote democracy. Citizens don't have a say in what is going on, only nations and governments do. According to Cafaro in the International Journal of Interdisciplinary Global Studies of 2017, supranational organizations are extremely complex and involve many internation conflicts. It is just simply not possible for civilians to participate democratically in a supranational organization. In a traditional article written by Hitchner in the Western Political Quarterly of 1958, the EU was an effect of the dominance of democratic nations, not an encouraging force towards democracy. EU has not become more democratic, but has instead forced even more compromise for unrelated people. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, the Commonwealth of Independent States, started by the Soviet Union, is a communist founded state and has remained very encouraging of communist states. Supranational organizations are simply a function of their members. They can be just as bad and just as undemocratic as their member states are. Now, the third reason why supranational organizations do more harm than good is because the side effects of educational programs set up by supranational organizations is a generalization and assimilation of lesser cultures into more dominant cultures and languages like English and Spanish. According to Tabuenka in the Educational Studies Journal of 2016, the language standards set for Spanish, English, and other languages by UN language education initiatives are based off of Western standards. Also, the certification exams are expensive, expire quickly, and force people in developing nations to learn dominant languages. According to McGinn in the International Journal of Educational Development of 1994, the growth of supranational organizations reduces the sovereignty of nation states, weakening their willingness and ability to provide high quality public education. Further, they have encouraged decentralization and privatization of education and have competed with domestic public organizations for control of public education. According to Yelland in Higher Education in Europe in 2010, supranational organizations sponsored educational programs actually reduce the quality of education in developing countries. So let's go back to our question. Do supranational organizations do more harm than good for their member states? And I believe the clear answer is yes. First of all, countries are not equal. Second, supranational organizations don't promote democracy. And third, the educational side effects exceed the benefits in developing nations. So, to go back to our original introduction, let's stick to the traditional buffet. Each nation should mix and match what they value instead of having to comply with an international norm. After all, aren't we picky with our food? Thank you.